I've never had sex with a bandmate, but I've been intimate and did sex adjacent things with a bandmate before.
I know I like to desensitize, but this girl's got you on her mind. Something about your walk, talk, smile so bright, kinda something like my kryptonite. I'm not easy, believe me, but I know what I want. You're special, gotta let you know. So let's have some fun. You're staring and I'm daring. I'm so ready to die. Bring your body real close to me. Whole lot of romance. What's your fantasy? You and me tonight. Let's live the dream. You and me tonight. What news? You and me tonight, baby.
And I'll tell you that it was really awkward. It was awkward, I think, for the main reason that both of us were really just kind of horny and not really into each other like that. So it definitely changed the dynamic. It definitely made it awkward because I think we were trying to figure out if the other person was more into us than we were into them, because it's weird when you're not really liking somebody, but you don't know if they really like you. But after a while, I could kind of tell he wasn't really into me, and I think he could kind of tell I didn't care if he was with somebody else. I didn't care what was going on. So number one, you know what I'm saying, if you ain't really feeling that person like that, then it's like you probably shouldn't. And there's just so many options out there when it comes to performing that you don't have to deal with them. I mean, it's safer, of course, because you might know the person a little bit more, but it's just not good. I mean, it's not good because if you're not really looking for something serious or you don't really like them like that, then you're kind of putting yourself in a situation to be uncomfortable for the remainder of that gig or for as long as you guys are actually working together. So let me just write what I wrote about in general, not my personal experience, but okay. Number one, when sex with a bandmate goes wrong, you need to assess the person thoroughly before you give into temptation. See what this person's habits and interests are. Now I'm looking down on my notes because I wrote them down just so that my mind would just go trailing off. Okay. So one of the reasons why sex with a bandmate or intimacy with a bandmate can go wrong is because you might move in real fast because you're attracted to that person, but you really don't know them. You really don't know who they are. You really don't know what they're into. If you don't take the time to get to know them outside of drinking with them and performing and hanging out in those kind of venues that kind of are usually fake and surface oriented anyway, then you might set yourself up for failure. And if things don't go right intimately or there's mind games being played, you're going to be mad at yourself because you didn't take time to really assess who it was that you were sleeping with or getting intimate with and sharing yourself sexually. It's just always a good idea for anybody that you're dealing with to kind of assess who they are and get as much information as you can up front before you kind of tangle yourself intimately with them. Do they sleep around? And again, this comes with spending time around them kind of from a distance. So you can be in a band, but you can watch from a distance without just getting all in there and flirting right away and being intimate, because once that happens, once they know that you're into them or once you know that they're into you, we kind of start putting on a little bit of a show, right? Like our ego kind of takes over and people are less likely to be themselves. You know, they're more likely to try to enhance their qualities or come across as bigger and larger and more popular than they are, or more sincere than they are, or not as just naturally inclined to be natural, right? And just be in their natural element. I like to watch and observe people. I say give it 6 weeks. 6 weeks before, 6 weeks time before you let your guard down and before they let their guard down. I mean, if you're drinking and hanging out, of course it'll be sooner. But if you're drinking and they drinking, you really ain't going to be able to see, right? You're not going to be able to think logically. You're moving too much on the surface and on the, you're just amped up and less likely to think rationally about the choices that you make. if you create some distance in the beginning, right, or for those first few weeks of like working together, getting to know them, you'll be able to see, because people usually when they come in, they're like a kid in a candy store for the first time to a new gig or something like that, or a new venue. They're like trying to feel out everything, and they're just trying to state their claim or test everything out to see how it is. So if you step back and you watch this, because most people don't have control. Most people lack control when it comes to their desires, when it comes to moderation, when it comes to just like settling things in and watching. People just usually go for, the candy. And if you just step back and you watch it, you can see, especially when it's right there for you. Being a musician, people come out to watch these shows to kind of get away from their normal life. So they're all jazzed up. They got their makeup on. They're looking good. They're looking sexy. Girls want to be attractive. Guys want to be all up on the girls, or whatever it is. People want to be free. So it's less likely for you to, if you can wait to just assess the situation, it's more likely for you to be able to see how a person's natural behavior is, because they might be really horny or whatever, or they just might be excited because these customers are coming on to them. And you need to have time to see how they react to that. You need to have time to see how they are when it comes to temptation. And if you're right there basically being there for them, they're going to try to get you first, because it'll be harder to get you, somebody who's in the band, if they know that they messing around with all these other people. So give it a chance. Don't be so open and easy, right? And this applies to whoever, because some girls can come on guys, some guys come on girls in the band. But you just want to give people enough space so that you can, one, assess how they naturally react to attention, you know what I'm saying? Or people fawning all over them, or how they react to a lot of choices, whatever. So that you can better make choices that won't put you in a box and kind of have you feeling like a prisoner or uncomfortable for the next few months or few years. You got to know if they're super flirtatious, if they're super emotional, vapid. And you also want to know if you guys are compatible, right? Friendships take time to develop. The more time you spend with somebody, the more you know what you have in common and what you don't. The more time you spend with somebody, the more time you get to know their natural inclinations and likes. The more time you get to hear them talk, and see what their habits are, and see if their words match their actions, and see if they're cheaters, or see if they're, liars, or see if they have a temper, see how they react to drama, see how they react to praise. You just need a little bit of distance so that you can see their natural habits, because you won't really be able to assess if you're even compatible with this person. So many people think, okay, sexual compatibility will trump everything. It does not. It does not. We have 24 hours in a day, and the majority of us don't spend it having sex. It's just what it is. We got to pay bills. We got to work, I said the majority of us, but there's life happening. There's things happening, and we spend more time at work, or taking care of our responsibilities, or cooking, cleaning, communicating, than we do actually in the act of physical intimacy, So think about that, think about whether or not that person is somebody who you actually enjoy hanging out with outside of the bed. Think about, could I see myself, if we went down this path, could I see myself hanging out with this person, talking on the phone for hours, really them building me up, and vice versa, them wanting the best for me and vice versa? Like, unfortunately, you mess around and get intimate with this person, before you know it, you realize you don't like them, or they don't really like you, and now you're like dealing with that while still having to put on a brave face and put a show on. That is one of the most uncomfortable things. I've seen it, and I've been in that situation myself too. Like I said, didn't go as far as, slack sex, but definitely crossed that boundary of just kind of like knowing I didn't really like them like that. But also now, because we did that, you're kind of comparing yourself to the ones you see them chase, even though you don't want them, which is so asinine and egotistical and makes no sense. But once you cross that boundary, you're susceptible to it. Okay. Often than not, all of this house spots will be lit. Okay, yeah. That's so basically at the end of that statement, what I'm saying is that when you cross that border, when you cross that line and get intimate with somebody who you're working with, what happens is that it's like it happens backwards, right? All those issues that I brought up, all those hot spots are lit up once you get intimate, because in your mind, not everybody, because some people got families at home and they're completely happy and they're just horny and alone and they want something or someone who has just as much to lose as them, or, you know, they're out there on the road and they just want to feel something, right? So there are some people, few and far in between, who can cut off their emotional attachment, and regardless of what that other person does, they know this is the boundary, you stay there, I'm not going to let myself get emotionally invested. But a lot of us, we get intimate with somebody and then we start thinking in terms of relationship. We start thinking in terms of how much they like me, because in the back of our mind, we know we're more than our body. We know that we have more to offer. We know that a relationship is just not sustained by how you make a person feel physically, how you make a person feel sexually and intimately. We know that you need more. They need to feel like they can come and talk to you. They need to feel comfortable in your presence. They need to feel non-judged by you. They need to feel like you are home in relationships that are really about something and building towards something. There has to be a level of comfort that's not just there in the intimate stage. It's not just there when you're having sex, because you can have sex with somebody and not feel all that connection beyond orgasm. It's empty. And again, some people, they just want that emptiness because they're getting everything else they need from somebody else. So you have to assess yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to know what you're looking for. And I make this video for those of us who are contemplating getting into a situation with somebody that we're working with, and we don't feel right away like this is somebody who I could see myself being with, you know, because in these kind of situations, when you lead with sex, you're not thinking about being with that person. Because when you're thinking about being with somebody, you're more careful. You know, the majority of us, we're thinking about, okay, how will they think about me if we do this right now? Or I need to assess how this person is before I give them myself, because I know once I give them myself, I might not see clearly. When you just move right in, usually you're just thinking on the surface. The problem is, the surface is usually the way that those feelings creep in. So don't even put yourself in that situation to possibly, don't put yourself in that situation to possibly get your feelings hurt somebody else's feelings, and then feel like you're stuck, and then have to deal with the possibility that that person you're in a band with doesn't really like you, doesn't want you around anymore, is bitter because of something that happened, or, starts to like somebody else in the band, and then you got to deal with the fact that you guys were intimate, and now you all in your head about something. Okay, so hopefully this helped you guys, and